From Guitar Hero and Rock Band to the Madden soundtrack and original scores, games and music are forever united. And this time in the bonus round, we explore how the two industries are influencing each other. Will video games save the music industry?
Look, the bottom line is that that's where people spend most of their time, online or playing video games.
And how have the music labels changed their attitude about putting songs in games?
By now, I think that industry is brought into what we're doing in video games.
Find out in the show that doesn't skip a beat, the bonus round. Hey everybody, welcome to the bonus round. I'm Jeff Keighley, and in the bonus round, the biggest names in the video game industry get together to talk about the issues that matter most. And this time, we're talking about music in video games, an exploding category. And joining me to discuss that issue, we've got Steve Schnur, who's the worldwide executive for music and marketing for EA. We've got Inon Zur, who's a famous video game composer. You're working on the new Prince of Persia and Fallout 3, right? Mm-hmm. Impressive. True. And then finally, we have Charles Huang, who's the co-founder of Red Octane, of course, the company that sort of birthed this rebirth of the music game genre with Guitar Hero. All right, Steve, let's start off with you. You're a guy that used to be in the music business, came to the games business. Are video games going to save the music industry?
Well, I look at it differently. And by the way, you mentioned the biggest name, so I should probably get the heck out of here. But just to save myself from that, I left the record business to get into the music business. I think the video game business is more prominently in the music business than the record business is right now. I don't know many record companies that still want to be in the record business anymore.
Right.
So that said, I think between the music, the exploitation of certain music, whether it's games from Grand Theft Auto to Tony Hawk to Madden football, to obviously Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and the impact that they've had, certainly more impact now than radio has with a certain demographic, certainly more impact than certain television stations have, because, look, the bottom line is that that's where people spend most of their time, online or playing video games. And if you're going to bring great music, whether it's classic rock music or it's, the brand new Franz Ferdinand tune, no matter which way you're going, bring it to where kids actually are, and where they are is they're playing video games.
Now, Charles, when you were working, though, on Guitar Hero, the first one, you look at that, it was, you didn't have a lot of master tracks. I assume it was probably hard to get the labels even interested in working with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't have a game to show them. And back then, music, video games as a genre was very small, music games. And we would go to a label and say, or an artist, and say, we'd like to license your game for, or your music for a game we're creating called Guitar Hero. And they say, what is it? And we had nothing to show them. Right. And so we went from that to where we are now, where the next version of Guitar Hero World Tour is going to be all masters.
Right.
And as the game has progressed, we've been able to send different messages. So to the business side of the industry, we tell them, hey, look, last year in 2007, we sold over $1 billion worth of Guitar Hero products worldwide. We think this is something that you guys want to be a part of. And then to the artists, we're able to show them that we've taken masters tracks, and we've taken their music and treated it with integrity inside the game. We show them the mocap and the integration of artists like Slash and of Aerosmith, the entire band. And I think that convinces the artists that we'll treat their work with the proper integrity. Right. So by now, I think that industry is brought into what we're doing in video games.
Huh. Now, Inon, as a composer yourself, a guy who actually writes music for all these epic games, what do you think of sort of the evolution of music in games? And now you hear people talking about Rock Band, Guitar Hero. Are people forgetting the real composers that do original music for these games?
Well, I wouldn't say that somebody is a real composer and somebody is not. I mean, it's like you say, like, oh, Paul McCartney, is not a real composer. He just wrote guitar music.
Right.
It's not true. I mean, a composer is, or a good composer who is the one that could really tap into an emotional, part of people and sort of get communicating with them, on the level that they'll say wow, I really feel something. And, so just to begin with, even back then, 12 years ago, when we didn't have the means that we have today, still people were able to bring this sort of emotional feel with a very, very simple and primitive, means of technology in order to produce music. I'm talking about the old EverQuest and other games. But no doubt that when computers got so much better. Everything got so much better. We have more memory. We have more bandwidth to play with. Then we could really bring out the big guns, and in this way really allows us, the composers, to actually practice the most we can do with the best sound we could make.
I think it's really important to distinctualize what he's talking about, because we always spend so much time in the press and TV and everywhere talking about, Slash, or as I mentioned, Franz Ferdinand and all this stuff, and the list could go on. But the bottom line is that he's absolutely right. There's no such thing, as far as I'm concerned, as a video game composer. There's great composers and there's other composers. And what great composers know is that every emotion you feel, whether it's a game or a film or a television show, it occurs because that music is making you sweat or laugh or whatever the case may be. And I mean, what he does for a living is so important to the relationship that the gamer has between the game and their experience. I mean, and the only way to prove it is, go to the movies and watch Iron Man or Indiana Jones and see if they'll turn the music off and see how flat the experience is. So I think, unfortunately, the press always gravitates towards the famous names. Right. But at the end of the day, a great composer can really move the needle on the entire experience.
But you look at, EA with your sports games, I mean, usually it's licensed tracks that sort of play in the background. I mean, it's not like you have a score for Madden or a score for NBA. Why isn't there an emotional score to, as you play Madden, you feel the highs and lows of the game?
Well, because at the end of the day, when we have a game, whether it's Harry Potter or Dragon Age or whatever the case may be, that is a filmatic, for lack of a better word, type of experience. You need the emotion. Right. When you go to a football game, there's no orchestra on the field, but AC/DC or, unfortunately,
you got the organ at the hockey
Gary
game.
Glitter or, Queen, We Are the Champion, the same old stuff, is, getting you ready to get pumped up and hoping the guys in the field kick each other's ass. Am I allowed to say that? I did.
You can say that.
Good, well, I just did. Just did, tough. But, that's why, and it's the same sort of point of view. The only difference is that we don't want Madden to have the same music that you hear in the football stadium. We want the football stadium to play the same music you hear in Madden, and that's why we sort of push ahead. But the music has to have the same impact. It has to make you want to go kick the ass of the guy on the other team, and it has to also mimic real life. And sports, play songs in the stadiums.
I actually want to add on this that as a composer, I think that all the notion of licensing tracks for video games is really important and is really good, and it helps us too. Because what happened is this: you sort of like put together the whole pop rock world, or with the huge groups, with the actual what we're doing, which is underscore, with all due respect. Now, when you're putting these things together, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great notion, and I think, believe me, not only that it's not hurting us, it's helping us, and it's helping basically what we called a score, for a game to be bigger, and have gain more publicity.
Yeah, some of the greatest films have, great underscore and great licensed tracks and whatever works at the time.
So Charles, are we going to see an underscore for the next Guitar Hero?
Well, we are definitely working towards having original music in the game as well. And, so the difference, for instance, between what we do in Guitar Hero and what Inon does, it fits the game. So we're trying to create a culture around rock metal. So we have to pick the songs that have created that culture around rock metal. What Inon is doing is pairing his music with a narrative of a story like Prince of Persia, and his music fits that beautifully. So I think, depending on the type of game it is, that you have a certain type of music that's appropriate for it that helps tell the story of, whatever that game is. But as far as Guitar Hero goes, there's no reason why we couldn't have original music. There's no reason why a #1 hit couldn't come out of a video game, a Guitar Hero or Rock Band. I think, in fact, I don't think it's a question of if, I think it's a question of when.
I agree with that 100%. I also think that, we as adults, and I don't care, what you define as adult, but anybody over the age of maybe 20-something, still knows, the 7 notes of Star Wars or the 2 notes of Jaws or the Rocky theme. But, to a 14-year-old, I would beg to differ. I would beg to differ with any adult. And, the bottom line is that the theme to The Sims, if they're a Sims player, is more important. I can imagine that would be the ultimate ringtone for them, or the
Mario theme.
Yeah, I mean, versus, those 7 notes of Star Wars.
Right. Excellent. All right, well, there's much more to talk about when we come back in the bonus round. We'll talk more about how video games are impacting the music industry. Next time in the bonus round, we continue our chat about games and music. How have downloadable songs changed the game business?
Every single song that appeared in Guitar Hero 3, online download sales of that song increased by an average of over 250%.
Find out next time, right here in the bonus round.
Bonus round.